My first year in real estate, this script brought in over $1.2 million of profit from wholesaling and flipping houses off of the MLS. In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do it, exactly what to say, step by step, so that you can get your first or your next deal within the next 30 days and start hitting $10,000 to $100,000 months. Now, this is without having to spend $1 on marketing, without having to get any fancy software, and without having to make one cold call. So we're gonna be making warm and hot phone calls to these real estate agents. And be sure to stay to the end because I'm gonna be giving you my free script that I've been using for 14 years and that's been responsible for these $100,000 months. So first off, big picture, let's get on the same page of what wholesaling real estate is. So when we're wholesaling real estate, all we're doing is putting a property under contract, a house at one price, let's say $200,000, and then we're finding a new buyer that's gonna buy it at $220,000. And what happens is we don't buy the property, but that difference between 200 and 220, we actually sell it to that cash buyer and we make that $20,000 difference. So it's very simple. I'm going to teach you how to do it risk-free. It's something we've been doing for the last 14 years, but I just want to get on the same page on exactly what wholesaling is. And now let's begin with the end in mind. What are we trying to accomplish? How do we at least hit $10,000 a month wholesaling real estate on a monthly basis? The number one key performance indicator is actually written offers sent. This is what we're going to optimize our daily actions for. And so what we've seen across the nation typically takes about 15 written offers sent to make a $10,000 wholesale fee. Now, if you're a beginner, that's very normal. Once you're more advanced, you should be able to submit less offers and get bigger deals, meaning you could send 10 written offers and then make a wholesale fee of $10,000 to $40,000. And the reason why this is the most important metric, really the only one that I want you to track, is that because you've done everything in your power up until that point to get this deal across the finish line. All that's left after you submit a written offer is all the seller needs to do is sign the dotted line, and now you have a property under contract that you can wholesale and make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on. Now, most newbies, what they're doing, they're spending their time on lead generation. But because we focus on the MLS, there's already leads generated for us automatically. So it eliminates the need from us having to drive around for dollars or pay Google ads for $200 per lead. Instead, we're gonna access MLS data, which I'll teach you how to get that, and we have access to the 1.7 million active houses for sale on the market today. And this is why we're able to focus our daily actions on submitting offers, while a lot of other people, they're spinning their wheels, they're not closing any deals. I mean, you see it in the YouTube comments all the time, and it's because they're focused on lead generation and not focused on the most important thing, which is submitting written, calculated offers. All right, let's get into the steps now and close some deals. So here are the one-time actions that I want you to do right now, today, and this week. Number one, let's select our market that we're gonna focus in. 9 times out of 10, I recommend focusing in your local backyard where you're located, so that county and the surrounding counties. Unless you're in rural Alaska, where a lot of people don't wanna buy properties, then you should be focusing in your own backyard. And if you are in Alaska and it's freezing cold, no one's buying properties, then you can virtually wholesale in a different market with this process as well. Now, step 2, we gotta begin with the end in mind. It's always about that. The smartest companies do that. They build them to sell. So what we have to do is find local cash buyers, and these are fix and flippers, right? These are the people you're gonna wholesale your deals to, and it's very simple to find them, and they're abundant. You need to know this. So for example, if I'm in Denver, Colorado, to find these cash buyers, I just go to Google and type in "sell my house fast Denver, Colorado." And what's gonna come up in the organic search results are cash buyers. And just go ahead, test it. There should be a company in there called the Buyout Company. Go to their website and you're gonna see that they've done over 1,000 real estate transactions. That's the perfect cash buyer there. Now, you can be wise and you can use this strategy for if you're in Memphis, Tennessee, for example, just type in "sell my house fast Memphis." Now, once we find these cash buyers, now we need to actually call them and talk to them. And we wanna find their buying criteria, their buy box. So we wanna confirm that they're actually buying houses, right? We wanna wholesale and focus on houses. We wanna understand where they're buying, where they like to buy, what zip codes, and understand their minimum profit criteria. What I mean by that is, once we understand exactly what they're looking for and what type of profit they're looking for, we can reverse engineer the deals using our calculator and understand what wholesale fee are we going to get. You need that data and you need that information in order to close deals. What most newbies do, and what a lot of other people teach too, is find your cash buyers after you get a deal under contract. And it's probably the number one reason why most newbies are actually losing out on deals, because they do all this hard work, you get a property under contract, and then you don't know how to find cash buyers or don't have a relationship with them. So if you spend 1, 2, 3 days finding and talking to these cash buyers over the phone, understanding exactly what they want. Now you can go bring the exact deals that they want to them. So let's work smarter, not harder. Now, another action that's one time is we need MLS data. The MLS is the multiple listing service. It's where 1.7 million houses are actively for sale right now. So real estate agents work hard. They find off-market sellers that want to sell their property, and they convince them to sell it on the market. It's pretty cool. So now the seller's on the market saying, hey, I want to sell my property. And most people in the United States, whether their house is beautifully renovated or they're going through a tough time and the property is distressed and needs fixing up, they go and work with the real estate agent. It's where the majority of leads and majority of real estate transactions happen every year. So you can get access to the MLS. You can get it through a real estate agent or something called assistant access. So it's the king database for all the investors across the nation. You definitely want access to it. But in the meantime, in order to get rocking and rolling, you can use Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com, because MLS listings actually syndicate onto these platforms. They go onto these platforms. And then it's a lot easier to get the contact information of the agent 9 times out of 10. And there's also confidential remarks on the MLS where sometimes it could tell you the seller's actual motivation for selling the property. So there's a lot of benefits to it. We love it. But the point here is that we're gonna be working with agents and reaching out to them. So once we do our one-time actions, which can take a day or two, now we go to our daily actions. And this is how you're gonna make $10,000 to $100,000 a month. So first off, let's just say we're using Redfin, for example. We need to find and filter for distressed property. Last week, I was just checking out a house in person, and behind the wallpaper was a bunch of mold. There was a hole in the roof that looked like someone fell through it. So these are the types of properties that we're looking for, the ones that need fixing up and aren't going to go to a normal home buyer. The beautiful thing about using the MLS or Redfin or Zillow is that we can look at the photos. A lot of the times, just from looking at them, you can tell this property needs fixing up. And every single day, there are new distressed listings coming up on the market. So we use this as our lead source. And so in 5, 10, 15 minutes, you can find 10, 15 leads on a daily basis. And if you're spending money on pay-per-click advertising, sometimes those lead costs are $200 or $300 to get a motivated seller and someone with a distressed house. So very quickly, in 5, 10, 15 minutes, you can find 15 leads and save $3,000, $4,000 right then and there. And this is how we're able to do this without spending a dollar in marketing. Now, let me give you 3 finding and filtering methods that I love to use. Number 1, day 0. And what we're doing here is within the last 24 hours, we're looking at all the new property listings. So there might be 60, and then you go look at them and you see 15 that are distressed. These are the best deals that you can be focusing on today and right now, because speed is the name of the game. You want to be first. If this is a distressed property, you can call this property today, like I'm going to teach you, and speak to the real estate agent and actually get an offer accepted today that you can start wholesaling for $10,000 or $20,000, $30,000. Now the next strategy, 2 old listings. I love this. So right now, the average days on market of a property, guys, is 66 days on market. It's the highest it's been in 5 years. So if you're a real estate investor, aspiring wholesaler, fix and flipper, you should be celebrating, because the longer a property sits on the market, the more motivation there is. So we look at all properties that are listed over 60 days, which is actually quite a lot since it's the average, and we find the distressed properties in there. So this is how we find motivated sellers. Now, a third strategy is price reductions. So about 15% of all properties on the market have price reductions. So if the price is reduced, most agents actually list the house too high. Over 75% of houses sell below list price. So a lot of these houses get reduced, and that signals complete motivation to you. So if you just use these 3 strategies right here, I have a lot more, but you should be able to hit this $10,000 to $100,000 a month number on a monthly basis, because you're never going to run out of leads. And if you're saying, hey, Alex, my market's too small, all you need to do is expand your market. There's never too small of a market, guys. If your market's too small, you're probably focusing on just one city, or maybe you're in a village with 100 people. All you have to do is expand your radius, and now your market is bigger. So you control your market that you actually work in. So you're never going to run out of deals. You're never going to run out of leads. Now, let's say we use the day 0 strategy. We spot a distressed listing. We like it. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet. It needs fixing up. Maybe in the description it says, hey, this thing needs to go for all cash. Well, what you have to do now, we have to do a discovery call. You have to call the real estate agent to get this information here. So I made well over 10,000 phone calls to real estate agents. This is my process, my sales process that I've refined over time. And this is how we get all the information that we need to make a calculated offer, a no nonsense, no BS offer that we can stick to and actually make a real wholesale fee. So speed is the name of the game here. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to find a property and then spend 3 hours analyzing it. This is another huge mistake. Most people find a property and now you're looking up comparable properties. And now you're looking at the description for 30 minutes. Now you're thinking about, should I call them? And then 3 or 4 hours go by. Before you know it, it's the next day. And now you call that real estate agent and they say, you know what? You should have called me yesterday because now it's under contract with someone else. So this happens day in, day out. So we need to call this real estate agent as soon as we see a distressed property. And now let's go into the discovery call script on exactly what to say to these real estate agents. If you just understand a few of these steps here, you're gonna be a few steps ahead of the competition. And it's just like chess. If you're a few steps ahead of the competition, you're gonna be beating their butts, you're gonna be running circles around them. And you have to do this because this is what the best of the best do. So let's dive in. So we found this distressed lead, this 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet. Let's go ahead and call in this lead immediately. And because we use the MLS, guys, because we use Redfin or Zillow, the listing agent's phone number is on there. I don't need to skip trace this lead and pay $1, $2, $3 in order to find this phone number. It's right there. So let's go through this call so you can be a master and actually close these deals. The most important thing on what to say. So we start the conversation with the warm intro and small chat. So, hey Lisa, this is Alex with ABC Houses. How are you doing today? And I'm doing great as well, thank you. I want to give you a call to get more info about your listing at 123 Main Street. Did I catch you at a bad time or are you able to chat about it right now? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, yeah, right now is a perfect time. Now the second step of this script is representation. Here's what we say. Great, well first off, I'm a buyer, not an agent, so would you be open to representing me as your buyer by any chance? What we just did here, guys, when we ask a real estate agent to represent us, we're giving them the opportunity to make twice as much money. So when a property is sold on the MLS, a listing agent is hired to sell that property. And when that property sells, when a wholesaler or fix and flipper investor comes, submits an offer and closes on the deal, that's when that real estate agent gets paid. Now, typically in a transaction, there's a listing agent and then there's also a buyer's agent. And let's say the commission they were going to get on this property was going to be $8,000. Well, in this scenario, when we call the listing agent directly, what we're doing is we're cutting out the buyer's agents. We're going directly to the listing agent and we're offering them the opportunity to represent us as our buyer's agent. In this case, they make twice as much money. So instead of $8,000, they can make $16,000 for doing the same amount of work, for representing my offer. Do you think that's pretty incentivizing? Yes, money makes the world go round. So you need to ask this question. You know, from doing well over 1,000 phone calls, I learned pretty early on that I need to ask this question. My conversations were drastically different. And then sometimes I would ask this at the end when I was a newbie, and I would have agents say, Alex, why the heck didn't you ask me that in the beginning? So always ask this towards the beginning. If you leave this one thing out, you're probably gonna get 90% less deals accepted. So it's that important. Now let's go to the next step. Seller's reason for selling. This is beautiful. Great. So Lisa, what's the seller's reason for selling? And what we're getting here is the motivation of the seller. So there's so many people who have no idea what they're doing. They're like, oh, a house on the MLS. They're not motivated. They don't want to sell. You know, I looked at the listing sheet. It just says investor special. It doesn't seem too motivated. Well, I ask the agent every single time, what's the seller's reason for selling? And they could tell you that they need to move in 30 days or they're facing a foreclosure and they need a cash offer in 15 days. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe there's a death in the family and the children are fighting and they want to sell this property and just get rid of it. There's a million reasons why someone could be going through a distress situation and have motivation to sell a property. So this question allows you to gauge the quality of this particular lead, and you can use this information to help this seller to have a more attractive offer. Maybe they need help with a U-Haul. Maybe they need a really good divorce attorney. Whatever it is, you can actually help them out in this situation, because part of our goal here is to be the most professional and the best offer possible. I may not be the highest offer, but I can be the best. I can be the most accommodating. So how can you have an accommodating offer if you don't know these questions that we're going to be covering here? You can't. And in this situation, when you're professional and you're talking to the real estate agent, the most important person who's in charge of the deal, if you just blast out a ton of offers to real estate agents, and I'm actually talking to the agent and I have a relationship with them, we're going to beat you out every single time. I mean, it happens every single day, every single week, every single month. It's because Our offer is backed by information. Our offer is actually calculated through having a relationship with this agent, which can actually put our offer ahead, which is part of this process and why we do it every single time. So we get the seller's motivation, it's absolutely key, and we go to the next step, which is we ask the agent, what's the overall condition of the property? Now there's always photos, or there's the opportunity to put photos on the MLS, so I use that as the entry point. For example, there's a lot of photos, I'll then say this. So gotcha, I noticed a lot of photos on the property here, thank you for uploading them, gives me a great understanding of the property. Now from your perspective, what would you say is the overall condition of the property? So what we're doing at this particular point, I'm asking this agent, I want their opinion of this particular property. Number one, I ask the questions, they talk, I listen attentively. People like people who listen attentively, and I know where I'm going with these questions. So when this agent talks more and more, usually I'm able to build more and more rapport. Now additionally, when a property is distressed and a real estate agent, you ask them this question, tells you how distressed this property is, tells you about the mold, tells you about the fire damage, tells you about the smell, tells you how ridiculous the situation is, this only helps your case. This only gives you information and data to actually have a lower offer and to get the bigger wholesale fees. So the reason why the beginners make less money is because they don't ask these questions and use them as leverage. The reason why when you get more advanced and you actually ask these questions and you do it by the book, you're able to use that as negotiating power or to have a more accommodating offer to get a larger wholesale fee. So every single question in here has a purpose for you to have the best offer possible. So we get the overall condition of the property. Then step 5, we ask the agent this. Are there any major issues with the property by any chance? Possibly anything structural, foundational, or electrical issues? Now, what are we doing here? Well, any true real estate professional is going to ask this question because these major issues, these major repairs have a direct effect on the repair budget, right? If it needs a new HVAC, if it needs all new electrical wiring, these can be $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 fixes. If it's got the cracked slab, it can be a $25,000 fix. So I need to know this information so I can calculate in my numbers and have the best offer possible and make sure I don't overbid on a property and have to backtrack like a lot of newbies do. So I'm getting this information because it has direct effect on my repair budget, and then only a true real estate professional is going to ask this. Right? If you have a 1-minute conversation with a real estate agent, you don't ask all these questions and you say, I'm going to send you a good offer, you don't know anything about the property. But if I know every single thing about the property, I can actually send a great offer. I don't even need to say it, it's going to be implied. And that's very important. When you're working on these things, the things between the lines, these are the little things that can actually help close deals. Now, step 6 is anything upgraded in the property. So this has a direct effect on our repair budget too. So I'll ask the agent, got it, has anything been upgraded in the property recently? And right, I've done deals where maybe there's 1 bathroom or 2 bathrooms renovated, but nothing else. That has a direct effect on my repair budget, and now my repair budget doesn't need to be as high. Maybe I can keep that. And now since I have more intel from a 5, 10, 15-minute conversation, I can adjust my price once again and have a better offer than the competition, than the people that aren't talking to the real estate agents. Now the next question we ask, and is there anything particularly special about this property that would separate it from the other homes in the area? And I'm asking this question because maybe there's more that meets the eye from the 25 photos on the MLS. Maybe there's more that this agent can actually tell me. Maybe there's views on the property that weren't in the photos that I didn't know about. Maybe there's mountain views or 360 views or 180 views. Maybe it's close to the freeway, but there's no freeway noise, and that's very attractive. Maybe the neighbors are awesome, but also they can tell you some negative things. Maybe it's in a flight path with a lot of noise, right? That can be negative, something I didn't know about, something that the agent would never, ever put in the description of the property to try and sell it, yet the agent actually tells me this information here. Now, these have a direct effect on your after repair value, what the property will sell for its best possible condition. So generally, we get a lot of positives here. And what you gotta understand, when you wholesale property, what word is in here? Well, the word sale. You need to sell this deal to your cash buyer. So when you know more than anyone else on the market about this property, on the positives, on the negatives, and you relay this information to your cash buyers who actually buy this property, you give them more confidence in the property and increase the likelihood they're going to pay you the largest wholesale fee possible and actually close on the deal. All this information is vital. We get the information about the most special features of the property, and then we go on to the next question. So step 8, Lisa, what would you say this home would be worth in its best possible condition. So I'm asking the agent just what they think once this home is renovated, what it'd be worth. Since I didn't do a full-on analysis of this particular property before this call, I'm just asking the agent and I'm making a note of it, right? So make a note. Now, a lot of the times, maybe 70, 80% of the time, the agent gives me a poor ARV. They don't really know, but sometimes they tell me about certain comps that when I go and analyze this property after the fact, after this call, actually helps speed up my analysis. So it's very important. Additionally, what you see is sometimes there's some agents that say, oh, you know what? The house is listed at 500,000, but the ARV is 500,000. Something's not clicking there. You can tell that that agent isn't really calculated. Or you could say, hey, let's talk about that. Was that your decision or the seller's decision by any chance? Oh, I could only get this listing if I listed at $500,000. I know it's going to sell below the list price. There's so many situations that come up in these scenarios, but we're getting more intel about the agent's experience, which we're going to use in objection handling and being able to close this deal. So very important information. Now, this next question, almost no one asks this. This is one of the most powerful things you can do. So we have to ask these questions, these necessary questions, so that we can get the answers we need to close these deals. So in this step, step 9, I'm going to ask questions about the competition, what's going on. And the person who has that information is the listing agent, and this is who I'm talking to. This is how you can get 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of the competition. So I'll ask the agent and I'll open up wide. I'll open up very soft. And how's the current activity been so far on the property? Now, most agents get what I'm saying in that case. If not, if this is one of the 71% of agents in 2025 that didn't close a deal, they may not know what I'm getting at. So I'll be more clear. Has there been a lot of calls and offers on this property so far? With the information, if they say, yeah, there's been some calls or been some offers or maybe verbal, I'll be like, okay, and are those homeowner offers or investor offers? So if you're doing this the right way, we're calling on a distressed property, your only competition should be other investors, shouldn't be homeowners, because we're attacking houses that cannot be bought by homeowners, right? This is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people fail at this. You're treating every 1.7 million houses on the market the same, every single one. And you got to understand, there's about 20% that are going to be distressed that you got to find and filter for. We focus on those. So if you're competing with homeowner offers, most likely you did a bad job and we need to adjust, right? We need to adjust how we find and filter to find better property. Now, if there's investor offers on the table, here's what I'm going to ask. Gotcha. How many offers are on the table right now? I want to know the exact amount of offers. Are there 1? Are there 2? Are there 3? And are those written or verbal? Oh no, they're all verbal, right? Maybe verbal doesn't really mean anything. So in this scenario, if I can get my written offer in, I'm the only legitimate offer on the table and have a strong chance of getting this deal under contract. So very important. Then I'll ask, and are there any other offers planning on coming in, right? I want to not only know about the current activity, but is anything else coming in? When you have this information, you can start pinning yourself against the competition. And as we build rapport with the agent, what we're doing through this conversation is working on being on the same side of the negotiating table, not different sides. So we're working together towards this deal. They're telling me information about it. And because I asked about representation in the beginning, do you think this agent wants me to win if my offer goes through and they make twice as much money than any other offer on the table? Yes. And that's why we asked this representation question in the beginning, because they're incentivized. We open up the door for getting better and better answers that help us. Also keep in mind, are these easier questions to answer? Like, hey, what do you think the overall condition of the property is? Is that easier to answer than how many offers are on the table? Yes. So we ask the easier questions in the beginning. We get in this dance and this rhythm of talking to real estate agents so that they're used to answering our questions. And we ask the harder questions later on. Case in point. Next step, step 10. So here's where we ask about the purchase price to lock it up. Gotcha. And what price do I have to come in at today to get it under contract? This is where you want to be silent. Ask this question. A lot of people talk themselves out of the sale. Ask this question because I want this agent to give me a number. And when we've done a great job of building rapport, right, the house could be listed at $700,000 and they could tell you, you know what, $650 could work, right? If you've done a lot of phone calls, you've done a lot of deals from the MLS, you understand this is what happens. If you know the stats that over 75% of houses sell below the list price, the majority of houses sell below list price, you know that the majority of the time you're gonna get the house below where it's listed. So is there flexibility in the majority of houses on the MLS? Yes, there is flexibility in the majority of houses on the MLS. These questions allow us to get this property under contract below market value as much as possible. Now, whatever they tell me, if they said 650 and still said 700, here's the next question. And these questions right here are going to allow you to make the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 wholesale fees just from asking a couple questions. So they told me 650, and I'll say, and how flexible is that price, right? Because now the agent could say, well, you know what, 645, maybe 640, okay. And now I'm going to divert to the seller. And is the seller willing to review offers less than that? I want to know, right? What's the seller's bottom line? What information was told? That's what I'm trying to get at. They could say, 640 is it, but like maybe 630 is really the lowest. Right? I've acquired properties $500,000 below list price. I just did a deal this last week, $40,000 below list price. Got students getting deals $200,000 below list price. So if this seems crazy to you, it's not really that crazy. Just go look at any sold properties on the market and look at where it's listed and where it sells. So this is how you get it below market value every single time like clockwork. So as you can tell, this section right here, this can increase your fees by 10K, 20K, 30K. Now let's go to the next section. And are there any specific offer terms your seller would like included in the offer? So what we're doing here, guys, is I want to be the most accommodating. Maybe they need a quick closing time. Maybe they need a long closing time. Maybe they want a short inspection. Maybe they need a long inspection. Maybe they want your EMD, your earnest money deposit, to be big. Maybe they want it to be in 1 day rather than 72 hours. So there's a lot of things that you can get from the agent to make your offer more desirable. We want to be the most accommodating offer. Now, step 12, very important as well. When does the seller plan on reviewing and deciding on offers? Why do we need to ask this question? Because if the seller plans on reviewing today in 2 hours, we got to get our offer in today in 2 hours. If I don't ask this question, right, the agent doesn't tell you everything. They're not completely open book. You got to ask the right questions. If I don't ask this question and I get back to this agent in 3 hours, what happens? You don't get an offer in today, you get 0 offers in, and you don't close any deals whatsoever. So this is all engineered around hitting our goal of $10,000 to $100,000 a month. All we have to do is reverse engineer the goal, just do the quick math in order to hit the goal that you want. Now the agent could say, hey, 2 days from now, Friday at 3 p.m., we're going to review and decide on offers. What you need to do then, if it's Wednesday, is follow up with the agent the next day, see where you're at in the running, and follow up 1 hour at the very least before 3 p.m. on Friday when the seller plans on reviewing these offers, and ask them, hey, where do we stand? Are we first in the running? Do we need to change anything? Anything else I can change to make our offer more desirable? So we follow up with the agent, right? This is a key indicator. When do we follow up? To what? To move these deals across the finish line, move these offers across the finish line. Now, part 13 is still about the competition too. I'm going to ask this agent, got it, and are you currently representing any other buyers on the property? Super duper important. Let's say they're representing 5 other buyers on the property. There's 5 other people incentivizing this real estate agent the same way. Well, what can I do? Well, I can pull a rabbit out of the hat and I can incentivize this agent another way, such as triple commission. I can talk with my cash buyers and say, hey, if I got a great deal in the market, can the listing agent that I'm currently working with also relist the property too? I've done it before, I'll do it again. That's a great way to close these deals. So once again, we're understanding about our competition. Imagine if the agent says, no, I'm not representing any of the other offers. Cool, you're the only one incentivizing this particular agent. So very, very important, this detailed information. If you played poker, Texas Hold'em, let's say you're playing with 5 other people. Through these questions, let's say these 5 other people were your competition, and we all got 2 cards, call them 2 hole cards. When I ask these questions, I can see all the competition's cards. I know where they're at, where they're listed, everything along those lines. So now I can understand what moves do I need to do. Do I need to go all in? Do I need to bet big? What do I need to do? Where do I need to bluff? Right? What do I need to do? I can make an actual calculated offer in order to get this deal done. This is what these questions allow us to do, to actually play the game and be a player and actually close deals consistently. Now I put an asterisk next to this one as well. This is called deal extraction. So as you can see, this is just one step in my process. Some people build their whole entire business around here, and sometimes it actually gets pretty unreliable. Let me show you what I mean. So I'll ask this question, great. And lastly, do you know of any other fixer type properties that we should be looking at? Maybe that you're listing or listings you know of, not even on the market yet, that you can represent me on? I mean, we're looking to buy 5 more deals this month. I'd love to have you represent us on each and every one. So what I just did here was ask this agent if they know of any other properties, fixture type, on or off the market. And a lot of times you can get off-market deals from these agents. So this is what I've been doing for 14 years, guys. And this is called agent outreach in a way. So not only am I pursuing this active property in the market I can make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on, but also I'm asking this agent if they know of any other deals. And can you represent me on them? Right? I want them thinking about Alex. If I work with Alex, I want to make the most money ever with this guy as opposed to anyone else. Now, there's some people that have inconsistency in their business because all they rely on is reaching out to agents. They don't build rapport. They're like, hey, you know of any deals that you can represent me on? Instead, we attack the on-market properties. We put them under contract. We wholesale them. At the end of the conversation, we have the most rapport. We ask this to the agent. So every deal that we pursue, guys, on-market leads to off-market. So one of my students actually closed a $100,000 deal from a coming soon listing from working with an agent and getting this property before it actually came on the market. So it's pretty darn effective. Now, step 15, we need to wrap up the call now. Here's how I wrap it up. Awesome. Well, I just want to let you know we're in this business to build long-term relationships. We're not just going to come in with some wild random offer price. Our offer will be justified with thorough research. And so now I'm going to meet with my team to discuss the property in depth, and then I'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible with where we can actually come in at to make this property work for all of us. Does that sound good? Great. Well, Lisa, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. I'll be calling you back shortly. Perfect. So these are the 15 steps for that first call. Remember, this is a 2-call close, but now we need to go ahead, like we said we're going to do, and analyze this particular property. Now, keep in mind, I've always had a real estate team. And that's why I say, I'm gonna go ahead and meet with my team and then I'll get back to you with an offer that we can stick to. That's because it just allows for leverage and posture, right? And so all of my students that I work with, we review their deals and we analyze their numbers with them. So they always say that line as well. So it really helps us be able to stick out, be ahead of those tire kickers. Now in the next step, we have further property analysis, all right? Now we analyze the property. And we analyze it for the ARV, we analyze the repair costs, we put in our ideal wholesale fee, and then what? Then we know exactly where we need to purchase this property at, the purchase price, which is where we offer back to this agent on the close call. Now the ARV, how we determine this, guys, it's not too complicated, but takes a bit to master. All we need to do is find properties that are renovated like our property that we're pursuing. So for example, a 3-bed, 2-bath house that's 1,300 square feet. Let's say that's the house we called on, it's distressed. We need to find other houses that are like that. We're not looking at commercial real estate that's 10,000 square feet. I'm not looking at just land. I'm not looking at mobile homes. I'm looking at a single family detached house. And I'm looking within a half-mile radius that I've sold within the last 6 months and within the same city and zip code. And this is because apples to apples is what allows you to value property, to actually determine the value. They're called comparable properties. So go ahead, find those, and then we make adjustments and we say, you know, this one has a pool and this one doesn't. This one sold at $720 with a pool. Mine will probably sell at $700 without a pool. It's a model match, it's the same exact one. Once we get the ARV of the property, now we want to calculate the repair costs. Now, a beautiful thing about talking to cash buyers is that you can ask them about the renovation costs. One of my favorite things to do when I talk to a cash buyer is I say, what's your dollar per square foot rule for renovating a property? And they might tell you, well, if it's 1,300 square feet and it's below $1 million, it's $40 per square foot. We got $40 per square foot of 1,300, and that's gonna give us $52,000. So the quick and dirty of a $52,000 renovation budget, knowing it's all cosmetic, because our cash buyer told us they use a $40 per square foot rule. Now, keep in mind, no one knows what the true renovation cost is going to be of the property except for your fix and flippers general contractor. So my goal, what allows me to sleep at night, is I'm always aiming to be $3,000 to $5,000 with my repairs. I know through this quick estimate, it might be 45, it might be 55, but I'm pretty darn close because my cash buyer told me how to actually analyze the repairs of this property. So understand, this doesn't need to take hours, this takes minutes. Don't overanalyze the property. Use the rule, get the rule, and use it. From there, we plug into our calculator our desired wholesale fee. So as professionals, we know that we can negotiate lower, so it might be $20,000 in this scenario. Now, what you can do, I don't want you to use a paper napkin math rule or 70% MAO formula that a lot of people use. Go ahead, I'll put my calculator down below. It's what I've used for every single wholesale and flip deal over the last 14 years. It will allow you to plug in these numbers. understand your cash buyer's profit, their minimum profit criteria that they need to get, and understand your wholesale fee. So can you make a $20,000 wholesale fee or $30,000 wholesale fee and still have your cash buyer make the appropriate profit? So the best of the best fix and flippers and wholesalers that I've seen, that I've worked with, all have a deal calculator and deal analyzer that they're using. We're not writing some formula on a piece of paper, 70% of the ARV minus repairs minus a wholesale fee, in order to find that offer price. If you do that, you're gonna be severely underbidding on these properties. You're not gonna be competitive on any properties whatsoever. So definitely download the calculator down below. And then we're able to get that purchase price. So the purchase price, exactly where we need to offer to be able to make it work for that cash buyer. So once we get our purchase price, this is what we're gonna close the deal with when we talk to this real estate agent. So as soon as we get it, 15, 20, 30 minutes later, we're calling this real estate agent back for the close call. So close call is step 4, and we gotta close it. Don't just email this agent and be afraid, or text them or leave them a voicemail with your offer price. Actually call them and close it right then and there. And the biggest reasoning for this, from making well over 10,000 phone calls, if you just think about your life, guys, if you've ever texted someone, have you ever read a text out of context and you're like, what the heck do they mean? Or, maybe you took it the wrong way. And I think that happens all the time. I mean, I know it happens all the time in my life. I'd rather hop on the call and really understand the situation. So what we got to understand, we know that the majority of houses sell below the list price, the stats are there, and that probably our offer is going to be below the list price. I don't just want to send this agent an offer without any supporting evidence or information and send it to them via text or email. I actually want to talk to them. I want to hear their tonality. I want to reassure them. I want to see doubt in the competition if there's higher offers, or I want to increase the certainty and confidence in my offer. That's very hard to do via email and understand and gauge the reaction. It's very simple to do. Simple, not necessarily easy, on the close call. So this is why we do this, to actually close deals, to actually make $10,000 to $100,000 a month. So let's get right into the close call script. Step 1, hey Lisa, this is Alex. How's everything going? Awesome, I'm doing great as well. I want to give you a call back as soon as possible on 123 Main Street. Really looking forward to getting an offer in today and having you represent us. So we start this conversation exactly like this, because if this agent's actually worth their salt, if they've done a lot of deals, they might be getting a lot of calls during the day, or they're working on 10 different deals. So I state the address in here, and then also I let them know I'm looking forward to get the offer in today and having you represent us. That's what I want to do. Not tomorrow, not 2 days from now. I'm constantly setting the stage to get our offer in today. One of the most important things to actually move these contracts across the finish line. Now I'm going to take the lead of this conversation. And so in step 2, I got supporting evidence and the ask. So let's talk some numbers on the deal. Sound good? Great. Well, I just finished meeting with the team to thoroughly analyze the property's costs. So the renovation, closing costs, holding costs, taxes, insurance, etc. Now, accounting for all the work involved to bring this property back up to current market trends, we can definitely get an all-cash offer in today with a 7-day inspection, 14-day close, and we can offer at $500,000. Now, what you have to do, the most important thing here, is be silent. We just did the ask. When we ask these questions, guys, be silent, because they're going to be thinking about it. You can talk yourself out of the sale. So when you say $500,000, you're confident in your offer, you analyze it with your team, you know exactly that's where you need to come in at. You don't believe that this is a lowball offer. It's calculated, it's reasonable. It allows you to get your wholesale fee, to run your business profitably. It allows your cash buyer to hit their minimum profit criteria. And this is the reality of the situation and where we need to come in at to actually make it work. You have to be confident in this. This is how our business is run. So we say that, and guess what? An agent could be like, okay, let's go ahead, let's get it in. Or they could counter. Now, as we follow the script, you're gonna have some agents that say, okay, yeah, that works. And then we're gonna have some agents that give us objections, which we can handle, and I'll handle in a second, such as that's too low, or there's other offers on the table. And don't take any of those as a no whatsoever, because the stats show 71% of agents never closed a deal last year. I'm not gonna allow this agent to warp my reality with theirs on how these deals are closed and how it works. 9 times out of 10, I have more transactional experience than that real estate agent. So leverage your mentor's experience, other people's experience, to know how to handle the situations to still get your offer in. So no matter what, a principle here, guys, is get your offer in no matter what. Like, that's the reality, that's the truth. If you're a listing agent, would you rather have 0 offers on the table or 1? Would you rather have 3 or 1? You'd rather always have more. And sometimes it's just one additional question. I call them deal extenders that allow you to actually get your offer in. So don't accept no for an answer in these particular scenarios. We need to fight to get our offer in. Now in the situation that the agent says, yes, hey, we're good to go, then we pursue. Then we move on to the next step, which is offer terms and confirmation. So great, I'll go ahead, I'll send the offer terms with our proof of funds over right after this call to your email. Once you get the contract sent over to me, I'll be able to sign it and get it right back over to you. Does that sound good? So I just stated exactly what's going to happen. Obviously, I've done this before. And then awesome, just to confirm, is the best email to send the offer terms to is lisa@kw.com. So confirm the email, because I've been the guy that didn't confirm the email and then sends it to the email that they do not use. So confirm the email. You need to send the offer terms to the agent so they can create the offer, send it to us, so we could sign it and send it back. Then I'll go ahead and say, great, and will you be sending the contract over digitally or with wet signatures? And this is just to confirm, do I need to print it out? Do I need to use my printer, scan it, send it back to them? Or am I gonna sign it digitally? 9 times out of 10, we're gonna sign it digitally. And okay, great. I'll go ahead, I'll send over my offer terms via email right after this call. And what time do you think you'll be able to send it back to me? So we asked this because we need a micro commitment from this agent. Just because they said, yeah, I'll go ahead and write it up, and you say, okay, see ya, talk to you later. We need a micro commitment. So let's just say it's 3 p.m. and they say, I'll get to you by 4 p.m. If 4:05, 4:02, 4:03, 4:10 p.m. comes around, I don't have an offer in my inbox, I'm gonna call that agent and essentially ask them where it is. I'm gonna say, hey Lisa, I don't see this offer in my inbox. Were you able to send it by any chance? Oh, okay, you got a little bit busy? No worries. When do you think you're gonna be able to get that over to me? So what we're doing, we're moving these deals forward. I'm not leaving anything to hope and chance. Part 4, this is review today and wrap up. So then I'll say to the agent, great, and thank you, Lisa. And will the seller be able to review our offer today? One last ask, because if the seller plans on reviewing 2 days from now, I want them to review it today so I can go ahead and be in first place. Then great, I'm looking forward to working with you and getting our offer submitted today. I'll talk soon. So that's how we wrap up the call. It's how we get the offer in. And a couple of my favorite objections. So be sure to grab this script at the end, guys. I got about 12 objections in here. Let's cover a couple of my favorite ones. Now, in the case the agent says, you know what, Alex, that seems a little bit low, or I don't know about that, and I can sense some uncertainty, here's exactly what I say. Hey, Lisa, I completely understand where you're coming from. I would definitely come in higher if I could at this time. But right now, an offer in is better than no offer, right? And a lot of times they're gonna say, yeah, you're right. Or I'll follow up with this. Well, what if we get the process started with this initial contract and then we can work our way towards a mutually beneficial agreement for everyone? So I'll then ask that and I'll get 2 yeses in a row and now we get it in, right? Because you gotta think, I know more about investing. I know more about being a wholesaler. I know more about closing deals than this particular real estate agent. You have to believe in that. You have to be confident in what you're saying in order to close these deals. You have to be a leader in these conversations, a professional and authority figure in order to move these deals forward. And this is how we do it. Now, if they say something along the lines of, you know what, Al, there's still higher offers, then I'll just say this. Lisa, I understand and agree that there's higher offers than this one. And a lot of times I see, the highest offer isn't always the best. Lots of investors will come in at a high price and then ask for reductions to really get the price they originally wanted. And I can tell you right now, we're no nonsense buyers you can trust, and I'm sticking to my word. So with our offer, at least you have an offer on the table that's real and reliable. And if the other investors start yanking yours and your seller's chain by asking for reductions, then our offer is still gonna be there. And hey, maybe once our offer is in, we'll be able to crunch the numbers a bit more and come up. But it all starts with putting a contract on the table. That makes sense, right? So in this scenario, what I'm explaining is what commonly happens with about 40-50% of deals where it gets put under contract with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, a higher investor offer, a newbie who watches YouTube, who doesn't go through the steps or talk to cash buyers. They have no idea what's a good deal or bad deal, so they put it under contract too high of a price. So when I can be the knight in shining armor and submit an offer at the number that works for me, that's how I can close these deals consistently, because these other offers are going to fall out and then my offer is going to be accepted once those other offers fall out. I can be in the backup offer position, actually legally be the backup offer, be the second place position, knowing that 40 to 50% of the time they actually fall out. Now, next objection, Alex, the seller wants the highest and best offer. Here's what we say. Lisa, I totally understand. And what we found is that sometimes the highest offer isn't always the best offer, since so many inexperienced investors offer too high prices that they can't commit to, and then try to ask for a reduction at the nth hour of their inspection contingency in order to actually make the deal work. So instead, I take the complete opposite approach because I actually want to build long-term relationships and not burn bridges. So I can come in with my justified offer price that you can count on and that we have the full intention of sticking to, because the last thing we want to do is waste your time. So with that said, I may or may not be the highest, but I can definitely be the best offer. How about we get our offer in today and see where it takes us? Once again, these are deal extenders. Use these lines. I mean, an offer is better than no offer, right? All right, so we wrap up the close call, guys. This is how we close deals. So we got the close call. We sent the offer terms to the agent once we closed the deal. And what we need to tell the agent is the purchaser name in the email. We need the EMD amounts. The EMD is the earnest money deposit. Typically it's about $10,000 and it's typically refundable as well within 72 hours. And what's beautiful is a lot of the deals that we do, this deposit you put in, you can have your cash buyers put it in. If you wholesale the deal within 72 hours, your cash buyer can actually put that in. Then additional normal offer terms for a wholesaler or investor is a 14-day close or sooner and a 7-day inspection contingency. So one of the most important things, if you're just starting out, you're the beginner, never ever send an offer in that doesn't have an inspection contingency. So you always want an inspection contingency is what I'm saying in the contract. This is your back out clause. If the shade of grass is changed a different day on this property from one day to the next and you don't like it, it doesn't pass your personal inspection, you can back out. So this is your back out clause. So inspection contingency, closing date, EMD amount, and what I like to put in that email too, reassure them they're the buyer's agent. Just put buyer's agent in their name. Let them know they're getting dual commission. Now with these offer terms, there's something called a proof of funds, also known as a POF. You need to send with your email to this agent. If you do not send a proof of funds, you're screaming that you don't know what you're doing, and this is a red flag. Proof of funds could be a bank statement, PDF, a letterhead that shows you have access to the funds in order to buy this property. So the proof of funds needs to show you have access to the funds. Let's say you're offering $500,000, at least $500,000 or more than that. Now, a simple way to get a proof of funds, there are lenders that will give you proof of funds, such as doubleclose.com. They are a transactional lender who can actually give you a proof of funds. And there's tons of other hard money lenders out there that you get a proof of funds for. So when I started out, I was using proof of funds from hard money lenders, right? Nope, didn't have 2 pennies wrote to my name. But then as time went on, could use my own proof of funds. So we submit the offer terms to the agent. We have the close call. And now the agent's going to write up the offer, send it to us. We get the contract, you look it over, make sure everything's great. Make sure it's $500,000 purchase price, not a $5 million. Make sure your contract terms are in there, your inspection contingency, EMD amount, your closing time frame. We sign it and we send it back digitally to this agent. Now let's pause here. This is the most important KPI. Pat yourself on the back. You've done a good job. We haven't closed the deal yet, but you've done the most important thing and you're ahead of 99% of other wholesalers. You've submitted a written offer that's signed by you. The only thing that's left is for the seller to sign the dotted line, and then what? Now it's under contract. Now you can wholesale it, you can fix and flip it, you can buy as a great rental property, you can do anything you want with it. And that's the value that we provide as wholesalers. Not just you finding a deal, but you finding a deal, talking with the agent, and putting it under contract at a price that works for that cash buyer. This is why you get paid $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So in the beginning, this is why you make less, because you're not as good at this. Once you become worth your salt and you get better at it, then we're able to close more deals and make more money. Right? The lower you get it below market value, the better you're at negotiating. So this is pretty darn important. The better you're at this, the bigger your wholesale fees, because you got it lower and lower below the purchase price that it originally was. You got it lower below market value. So signed offer submitted. This is what we're trying to do on a daily basis. Guys, this doesn't take hours and hours. It doesn't need to take weeks. You can get to the point of sending one offer a day. You submit one written offer a day. What's that going to get you as a beginner? Probably about $20,000 a month. Right? I got a lot of clients being able to do that. And once you start rocking and rolling, you're doing an offer a day, you're more advanced, 30 written offers, I mean, the sky's the limit. For example, I got one client that's averaging $40,000 wholesale fees from working on the MLS. So it's not always about the quantity of deals that you're doing, the quality of the deal. You can have a larger per profit size per deal and make it easier for you to start making more and more money on a monthly basis. Now, I do have this step right here, guys, 6B, because sometimes it's not always a smooth transaction when wholesaling. Sometimes we need to actually receive a counter offer from the actual seller, from the listing agent, or a multiple counter offer, and then we have to respond in order to actually get this deal under contract. So this step is for negotiating, right? We might have to adjust our terms. Maybe you had a $20,000 wholesale fee originally, and they said, Al, you got to come up $12,000. That's the only way you're going to be able to get this deal. And maybe I got to negotiate with my cash buyer, see if they can take it at a higher price. Maybe I have to eat the cost of that $12,000 dip and only make $8,000 on this deal rather than $20,000. But I'd rather make $8,000 rather than zero, so I still might close this deal. But we gotta negotiate, we gotta counter offer. We gotta keep making our offer as desirable as possible. I may have to incentivize this agent with the relist of the property like I talked about earlier. So we gotta negotiate to get this signed offer submitted, but I had to put this here, negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. I taught you some more objections here. There's more objections inside of here that you need to get. But what are we trying to do, guys? Now we got the executed contract. So once we sent it back to the agent, the seller signs it and agrees to it. It's now binding like we talked about, and we can now assign the contract. Assigning the contract is how we actually transfer the contract rights from our name to who? To the cash buyer that we're gonna be wholesaling this deal to. So when we get the executed contract, what you need to do is tell the cash buyer the ARV, the repair costs, and then ninja tip, you need to give them the purchase price, but build in your wholesale fee. So for example, if you're gonna have a $20,000 wholesale fee, maybe you got this property under contract at $480,000, don't send it to the cash buyer at $480,000. Tell them their purchase price is $500,000 with your wholesale fee built in. Because when I send them this information via email about this particular property, send them the comps and the listing too, give them a call and follow up, talk to them about this property, all the things you know about it, why it's going to sell at that ARV. And when I send them the numbers that they need to actually come in at and that purchase price of $500,000, it's because I don't want them worrying about my wholesale fee. I don't want them thinking, oh, Alex is making 30 or 40 grand on this. I want them just thinking about, does that purchase price work with my wholesale fee built in? They don't know that yet. I'm going to handle that after the fact, right? Once they agree to it, and when I send it to 3 or 5 local quality cash buyers too, I have leverage, guys. You just don't want one cash buyer. You need to have 3 to 5 to create leverage for yourself, safety for you, so that you can get the highest wholesale fees possible. If you only have one cash buyer and he's like, no, I don't want it, what happens? Well, you're out of luck, right? But if we have 3 cash buyers and one guy's like, you know what, I don't want it, you got backup plans, and you can bid them up against each other. This is just a ninja tip, right? When we send it to the cash buyer, just include your wholesale fee and your purchase price, and then we handle the conversation of, the assignment fee is going to be $20,000. I'll go ahead, I'll send that assignment addendum, just go ahead, sign it, send it back to me, and then we'll be able to handle everything else in escrow. And we'll be able to close this deal. So as we're closing deals on the market, this closing process, you'll be working with either escrow or title or both, or an attorney depending on your state. They all have the same responsibility. It's just helping move this deal across the line according to the paperwork. So everything we do is 100% legal. Everything that we do, we use contracts that are approved by attorneys. So in this assignment contract, it's typically just a piece of paper or two that says you're transferring the contract rights, that you make $20,000 for this assignment. That's your wholesale fee on this deal. And then what happens is the cash buyer, the fix and flipper, takes ownership of this property by paying the seller the purchase price. And you make the difference between where you got it under contract at and what you sold it at to that cash buyer. So that's it in a nutshell on exactly what we need to do in order to wholesale a property. Now, I took some time really explaining each step, and the biggest thing I wanted to do today was really cover exactly what to say to real estate agents step by step, because I really see no one breaking it down. And you can know all these steps, hey, access to the MLS, how to find and filter, how to email my cash buyers, how to assign the deal. If you don't know how to talk to agents, if you're just emailing them or giving them verbal offers and you're not actually moving the deal across the line, if you don't know how to handle any objections, then you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And there hasn't been a faster, easier way that I've seen to hit $10,000 to $100,000 a month wholesaling houses. There hasn't been a better strategy that I've seen without having to spend literally $1 in marketing. Hopefully you see I didn't tell you to invest in any softwares in here whatsoever. Like the MLS, yeah, there might be a small fee for that, but if you can't afford it, just use Redfin or Zillow. Go ahead and get started, no excuses. And then once again, I didn't have to make 1,000 cold calls. I can make 10 phone calls in 1 hour to real estate agents who actually pick up their phone call because they get paid to pick up these phone calls. If I'm calling from a different area code, guess what? The agent's gonna pick up my phone number because they want to close the deal. They're as incentivized as me. And if there's one thing that you take away from today, it's inputs and outputs. I started this conversation we had with the most important metrics, which is written offers sent. When we do this on a daily basis and you're submitting offers on a daily basis, all we need to do is reverse engineer our goal to be able to hit whatever goal that we want. And so this is exactly how I was able to get to over $100,000 months. My first 12 months generating over 1.2 million was because of this particular process. And this didn't come easy. This wasn't taught to me. This was actually just from being in the trenches and doing it day in, day out. Don't forget to download this script. I have it up at realestateskills.com/script. Chances are you're not gonna memorize every single step. You need the other objections. You need the FAQs as well. When they ask you particular questions, if you answer them the wrong way, it's gonna be a red flag. They're not gonna wanna close any deals with you. So go ahead, grab this down below. And then on the next page, if you want help implementing this, a lot of people do need help. You need coaching, accountability. I know in my life, I got different coaches, mentors, things like that. After you get the script, on the next page, you can schedule a call with my team and we can see if we're a good fit to work together and implement the MLS offer system in your market. And if not, no sweat, we'll still be here. You'll be on your way, maybe closing deals on your own, maybe together. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, put a lot of work into it. I'll see you in the next one. Alex Martinez with Real Estate Skills.